What's up, you cool cats and kittens? Thanks for tuning in for another Bob at the Board. And today we're going to talk about modality in reference to location. So where are the most deaths happening here in the US? What data are we using? What do we have? And we're going to kind of break it down so that you guys and us as well have the most up-to-date information as to kind of what's the most dangerous thing we do. For a long time we've looked at it and we've gone, man, the most dangerous thing you do statistically is drive, right? That's what everybody thought. Well, we were actually looking at some statistics this morning and we saw that we were actually wrong. The most dangerous thing you do is exist in your house. The leading cause of death right now that's preventable is standardly happening at home from a plethora of different things, whether it's massive bleeding, whether it's airway issues, or whether it's respiratory. We're seeing that things happening at home is standardly more dangerous. MVAs have more likelihood of being responded to versus you being at home, especially those in the rural communities. So we looked at some information and some data, and we're going to talk about that today. So this data is coming off of 2021. That's where the most correlated and most accurate data is coming from. We're still looking at 22 and 23 based off of our research online. So we're going to look at 2021 and we're going to say inside of 2021 we had 224,935 preventable deaths occur. Those are deaths that were happening at the home, in the car, at work, wherever it may be, wherever you exist. And we could have prevented these, whether it be massive bleeding, whether it be an airway issue, whether it be a cardiac issue, whatever have you, we could have prevented these deaths, okay? Off of that, with the 224,000 deaths, we've seen 62 million injuries here in the US. So 62 million people or million encounters with injuries. So that's pretty vast when it comes to the numbers. If you look at our population right now versus that, we're seeing, 30% of people are suffering injuries every single year. With that, that's $1,225,400,000 roughly in cost in regards to those injuries, right? Or in regards to those deaths, whatever have you. So that's a lot of money that's wrapped up nationally just in cost in treating these wounds, right? Or in dealing with these deaths. We also saw that was an 11.9% increase from 2020. So it is actually on the rise. And that's a steady rise as well as versus 2019 and 2018. And versus the last 30 years, it's 159% growth. Now, we know that with that, we have population growth. And so that's to be accounted for. But still, nonetheless, people are getting a little bit more flippant. We've seen that technology is an increase to modality just because people aren't paying attention. They're on their phones. And so we want to see that and try to mitigate that the best we can. Now, how do we mitigate this number off top? We be safer. We be a little bit more mindful. We have better situational awareness. We pay attention. We don't put ourselves into harm's way. We don't put ourselves at risk. And we try to not do dumb things. This is me talking to me here because I have a tendency to do some dumb things sometimes. So drive less fast, take less chances, right? But with that, when we're trying to get in that preventable death number, we know that carrying first aid on your person is absolutely pivotal to reducing those numbers. So how many of those people actually just needed a tourniquet, needed wound packing, needed a chest seal, maybe they needed an AED, whatever have you, with CPR combined. We don't have those direct data. We're diving in right now. We're trying to find it. Once we do, we'll make a video about it. But I'm sure a large number of these people right here, because inside of the marquee, we know 90% is related to bleeding. So a large number of that is going to be just massive bleeding, right? So if we go over here, we can see it broken up into a little pie chart. We'll dive into the percentages here in a second. But this is a visual representation of what our numbers are actually going to be. So over 50% of those preventable deaths actually occurred at home. That's somebody at home, whether they didn't call 911, didn't call 911 in time, had a bad response time, didn't have the tools to mitigate the death, whatever it may be. A large majority of them are happening at home. Then we have About 25% of them is happening inside of motor vehicle accidents. Once again, another roughly 20% happening in the public, and then a very small percentage is actually happening at work. And so a lot of us like to complain about OSHA regulations and about all the rules and safety in the workplace, but when it comes to injury and death mitigation, the workplace is absolutely killing the game in reducing their numbers. That was a pun. You can laugh. With that, we really want to focus in on that home number and what we can do to, reduce it, right? So we'll take a look a little bit deeper. We'll dive into the numbers. If you would stay with me here, we'll flip the board. We'll turn on our handy dandy projector. And so looking at these numbers, we have all sectors being, and this is the deaths, right? So we have 224,935, which is an 11.9% increase, right? 46,000 of those are happening inside of the motor vehicle sector. 44 are public non-work. So that's people, going to the store, going to the park, whatever have you. They're not driving for a living. We got about 1,700 happening at the work. 200 are happening at home inside their vehicle, right? People working on their vehicles, whatever have you. Then we have the work number right here. So 4,400 of them are happening at work. Roughly 2,600 are happening non-motor vehicle related at work. And then we've got 1,700, almost 1,800 deaths happening motor vehicle related at work. So this is your Uber drivers, your semi drivers, whatever have you, that are actually passing away inside of a motor vehicle accident. And then we have home, right? So we have a big non-motor vehicle number at home. So we have 128,000 deaths have happened in 2021 at home. Now, why is this number so large? I believe it's because we haven't proliferated the use and ability of comprehensive first aid kits inside of home, right? And so something you may be thinking to yourself is, well, I have a BearFac. And that's great. You should have a BearFac. I believe that every American should. However, we're not pushing home first aid kits enough. It's not something we're focusing on enough, and it's not something we're teaching enough. We've actually had multiple lives saved by people who have, dropped a kitchen knife on their foot, hit themselves with a chainsaw in the backyard, whatever have you, and had to actually deploy an adventure kit or an OSHA compliance kit or a crash fac or an SOB, whatever it may be, one of our plethora of kits inside of the home sphere. Right? So when you're thinking about your lines of preparedness when it comes to first aid, you really got to be thinking about the home front. A lot of us love to have vehicle first aid kits. I know that that's something I've been driving really hard. However, we spend a lot of times in our home or in our backyard or on our property, whatever have you. And we need to do a better job of focusing that training and that preparedness line there, right? Then we see 200 of them are happening motor vehicle wise at home. So that's, I'm driving on the property, I'm working on the car, whatever have you. So that's something we definitely need to pay attention to. And then we have about 47,300 in the public. This is where your EDC is coming into play. Now, we did have big growth right here, right? So our two main things of growth is going to be the home sector, which is 13% growth over last year. And then 10.5% growth in the public. And so we're going to continue to see those numbers rise. Hopefully we can do our absolute best to mitigate this the best that we can. The source, this is coming from the National Center of Health Statistics, right? State Departments of Health, state traffic authorities, except for the work figures, which are from the Bureau of Labor, right? So all of these are the actual data that we're looking at. When we look at the medically consulted injuries, that's where a large majority of them are also coming at home. We have 35 million of them coming from the home sector. So people are getting hurt at home, right? And that's a 38.6 per 100,000 people. So it doesn't seem like much, but think about the population of your town. Think about where you're located, and then think about the response time as well. That's a big deal, right? So having the ability to render aid, stop a massive bleed, secure a patented airway, maintain a respiratory pleural space vacuum, right? Positive pressure, whatever it may be. That's going to be a really big deal in, decreasing likelihood of death when it comes to either being at home, being in the public, or being in a motor vehicle, right? Because we know that those are our three main sectors of potential lethality, right? So something for you to think about is, what first aid kits do you have in the house right now? How are they positioned? Are they staged properly? Are they easily accessible? And does everybody know where they are, right? Have you gone through with your children, with your teenagers, with your spouse, with your roommates, whatever it may be? Hey, I've got a first aid kit. This is what to do in this scenario. This is what we do in that scenario. This is where it's located. This is how to put on a tourniquet. This is how to apply a chest seal. And you know, we're going to go through a little bit of practice of putting a naso in to secure a patented airway. Whatever it may be, these are all things that you can do to put the odds in your favor to better prepare yourself if an emergency were to occur in your own home. Let us know in the comments section what you're doing day to day to be more prepared, whether it's on the home front, whether it's out in the public with your EDC, whether it's in the vehicle with a comprehensive vehicle first aid kit. We want to know so that way we can drive better content and, you know, better information for you, the end user, because you're the reason we make all these crazy videos. You're the purpose. You're the point. We want to save lives. You effectively being the lives, right? So make sure you take this information, share it out with people, and let's continue to do the good work of first aid and, you know, continue to carry this message. And please remember, carry an effing tourniquet.